Hi everyone, this is Ahmadini again. In this video I'm going to show you how to push your project's Docker image to DockerHub directly from your project. So we're going to answer 6 questions and the first one says that we need DockerHub. Do we need DockerHub? I'm going to explain to you what DockerHub is and why we need it, but the simple requirement that we have is when we build a Docker image on our laptop or a workstation, it will store the Docker image of our application in a local Docker image repository. But what we want is, if we want to run this image on a server, we need to transfer from our laptop to the server. Now, there are many ways to transfer, and one way, which is a very obvious way, is just to in the old days, or where if you want to do things manually, you can just maybe simply do docker save. If we have, let's say, if we have a Docker application, an image, let's see if we have Docker images. Yeah, we have that, so you can simply say docker save, and then the image name, which is lulpos, and then you say to a tar file or a file that you want to save it to, and then you say lulpos, let's say .tar. So you can simply do that, and it will create a tar file of basically the image that we have. If we have a look at that, if you just do tar, we'll do so you can see, so it's created an image of that Docker image, and we can just rsync it to the server. But that is a manual way and very tedious way that you don't want to do things. The best and the easiest way to do is to use a Docker registry. The same way that you have GitHub for your source code, you have also a repository for the Docker images that you can upload and you can share with other people, but also you can use it for your own personal. You can just go to log onto your server, and you can pull that image directly from there. Otherwise, you would have to build your project on your server and then create the image and then use that image. So the idea here is just to transfer this image from our laptop directly to a central repository or registry, Docker registry, and then we pull it from there. So what I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing things. If we go back, just let me clear what I've already created. I think I don't want this image to stay in my lul tar. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going back to the list of questions that we had. I'm going to show you how to push this image. So the first thing what you need is you need DockerHub account. We need to have a DockerHub account. If you already have a Docker account, you can just sign in. If you don't have it, you can sign up. So for me, I already have DockerHub account, so I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you what's in there. And also there's thousands and thousands of Docker images that you can download. And we've been downloading in the previous videos, if you have noticed, like on MySQL. Yeah, let's log in. DockerHub is free if you're going to make your image public. I think it also comes with one private repository that you can use. So if we have a look at the repositories that we already have, we don't have any repositories, so we don't even need to create the repositories directly. We'll create it from our Maven project. So I hope that I have answered the first 2 questions about DockerHub and the fact that you need a DockerHub account. I'm going to answer the 3rd question, which is JIB Maven plugin or JIB Gradle plugin. We use in our project a JIB Maven plugin, and this is part of JHipster project. So I'm going to show you their page, and this page you see is the plugins GitHub page, and it has been developed by Google, and the JHipster guys have included this plugin into their project. And as you can see here, this is very advanced plugin. They claim that you don't need a Docker file to build a Docker image of your application when using this plugin. So if you have a look at this plugin here in our Maven file, you can see a lot of the stuff that you normally would see in the Docker file, like the Docker image that your application is going to extend, the image where it's going to, and also the entry point sh file, the port, the sleep time, and all that kind of stuff. Normally you would see this kind of stuff in the Docker file, but it's very, very, very good actually. They even say that you don't even need Docker to generate a Docker image, but it's very advanced actually. So what I'm going to show you is it does two things for us, or for our JHipster application. The first one, it takes our WAR file that we have built with Maven when we were packaging our application, and then it puts it into a Docker image, like I said many times, and then we will use this plugin to push the image to DockerHub. About pushing the image to DockerHub, Docker itself provides a CLI that we can use to directly push the image to DockerHub. So I'm going to show you how we can use that. First, we need to log in to Docker, and then it's going to ask us about our username. There is a Docker ID that you need to provide. So mine is Lul Solutions, and my password I need to type. So now we have logged in successfully. To be able to do this, you just need to have Docker installed on your computer, and you just use the command line directly. So the first thing I need to see is if we have actually Docker image. Let me see. We have a Docker image, and step one is we need to tag the image before we can push it. So and I'm going to need the ID of the image to tag it. Then I'm going to need my DockerHub ID, and then the image name, and then the tag name. So I'm going to call it the latest. So if you remember, our Docker page, DockerHub repository didn't have any. If we refresh now, it doesn't have anything, any images pushed to here. So we're going to manually push it right now. Now we have tagged, so if we just check our images, we have a new tag image that we can use for pushing, which is the latest basically in there. Now let's push it, and we just give the name of the repository that we need to push. So now Docker has confirmed that it has completed pushing our image. So let's go to DockerHub and see if that has happened. So we just refresh this page that we had previously, and voila, you can see that we have now a repository called lulpos, and we can pull from anywhere in the world. It's available to anyone who wants to pull it. So that's how we can manually push our Docker image using Docker CLI. So next I'm going to show you how to push it with the Maven plugin that I was talking about. So to prepare for a fresh playground, I'm going to delete the image that we have created. So next, let's check if the images have been cleared. Next, we need to delete the repository in DockerHub, which is this one. You go to settings, and you have to type, we have to click basically delete, and you have to type the name of the repository that you need to delete, which is lulpos. So now if we just refresh again, we can see that we don't have any repositories. So just let me double check if I'm in my project root. So I am actually there, which is, and let's do ls to see that all the root items are there, which is exactly everything I wanted. Very good. Let's quickly see how many questions we've answered so far and what's the next thing we need to do. We've answered up to question number 3, and the next question we need to tackle is how to push Docker image to DockerHub using inline command DockerHub credentials. I've already copied to the clipboard the stuff that you want to see, so let me clear this and then I'm gonna paste it here. So obviously you need to have your username and password and all that kind of stuff together. So we're running the normal Maven command for building a Word file in there, and we're telling it not to run the tests. We're also saying we want the production here, but also we're using the JIB Maven plugin to build the Docker image. Notice the word build. Previously we've used Docker build, which we use to build only local images. When we use build only, it will directly upload to the Docker registry without saving it locally. The next thing we need to have a look at is the image URL, which consists of the Docker registry URL, which is dockerhub.com, the Docker ID, and the repository, and the tag. Also, we need to have a look at the username and the password. As you can see there, we're passing all of these in line. Our Docker image has not been pushed to the DockerHub registry because we have an error, and the error says unauthorized registry.hub.docker.com library in there. I didn't add any library or anything inside the URL, as you can see on the top. So I know what the problem is. What we need to do is we need to specify, we need to go to our project and then go to the pom.xml file and specify our Docker ID. Normally, when you generate a JHipster application, it just gives you the name of the project, which becomes the image name, and just the latest tag in there. But you need to add your own DockerHub ID just before in front of there. I think we don't need a slash. We just need just a normal name. It's not a URL, I think. So let's go back and save this. We've just make sure you save, especially if you're using Eclipse, because it doesn't automatically save it for you. So just there's a little star that would come on there if it's not saved, so just keep an eye on that. Now we need to go back to the terminal and rerun it. So if you see the word finalizing, normally it comes up when it's uploading the image to DockerHub, and if you have very slow internet connection, it might take a while. As long as it doesn't give you an error, it will eventually upload, so be patient. And if you have very good internet connection, it will be very quick. If you don't, then it'll take a very long time. And long time, what I mean is a maximum up to 10 minutes sometimes it takes to upload, depending on the size of your image. Great. Now the system tells us that it has successfully uploaded or pushed the image to DockerHub. So let's confirm. And refresh it. I think hopefully we haven't expired. As you can see there, Lul Solutions, Lul Pos. The repository is here. The full name of it, and we can see that it's been pushed a few seconds ago. Yep, yeah, how big it is. And we can delete the tag and all that kind of stuff. So it's great now that we have seen how to upload an image with credentials directly specified inside or inline. Next thing I need to show you is how to push Docker image to DockerHub using Maven settings.xml file. If you know how Maven works, there is a settings file. Depending on the logged in user, there might be a different Maven settings file or repository, depending on the number of users on your system. For example, I consider the super user and the normal user two different users. For example, currently I'm logged on as Ahmed Dini user, and if I do su do I and just enter my password, it becomes root. So this is a completely different user, as you can see. And if I want to go back to my normal user, then it becomes Ahmed Dini. These two different users have two different directories. When you run Maven command, it installs all the dependencies and the settings files relative to the user's directory. For example, for me, Ahmed Dini here, I expect to have M2 folder under, actually it has to be under my home directory. So if I just do cd and then do cd m2 and do where I am, so it's like a pwd will tell you where you are, so I can see, and then if I ls, then I can see that there is no settings file. I can just check also the super user, the root user also. So I'm going to do, so let me clear. So if I switch to super user, if I do sudo I, and now that I'm in root, so if I do cd m2 and then do ls, I can see that there's a different file. So now before there was not that XML file called no XML. Actually it's a settings XML, but I renamed it so that just it doesn't read the it doesn't pick up the Maven XML file, because this is where we set normally in there. So I always run my commands on as you do, so it just comes here directly when you do. So I'm going to show you also how to check which version the application is running on and all that kind of stuff. So let me rename this XML file called no.xml file to, I just called it that name, so do not think that it's standard name or anything like that. So I'm going to do mv node, and then I'm going to call it settings, which is what Maven expects for configurations. So now if we do its settings, so if I do vi settings XML, that I can see the settings in there. There's only one setting, and which is what we were giving on the command line. If you remember the parameters that we were passing on the command line, the URL of the server and also the username and the password are here. So now that we don't need, when we're running, I'm going to exit the root user and go back to my normal user. I can always do, actually I need to get out of to get back to the root. So if I do So this is the project where we were. So if I run now the command that we were running before, which had the long username and password and all that kind of stuff, we don't want to have all of these right now because we've already configured, we've already put the information in the XML file. All we want is the build. We just run this because we have specified. So one thing I need to show you is if I want to see this running, if I did Maven and I'm gonna do debug, so big X with dash big X means debug, dash dash debug, it's equivalent to that. So I want to see, and I also want to see the first page to be able to see the I'm gonna pipe it to less so that I can see what's happening as a debug basically. So if I go down, I can see information about which wrapper, Maven wrapper that it's using, and which settings file it's using for the authentication to DockerHub or any other Maven's required settings. So I can see that. So, and remember, if I run this on with my normal user without sudo, then it will be completely different. It will be the completely different directory than the ones that you're seeing here. So in here I can get a lot of information if I just run the application as debug. So it's great. Actually, just let me just Docker and run it normally so that I can see, I can follow it. Okay, very good. Now we have managed to build and push the image to DockerHub using Maven settings.xml file. The credentials are in there. So now what we need to do is we need to double check and go to DockerHub and see if the image has come here. Very good. I can see that. I just need to copy this. I don't need the tag name in there actually, because I need to pull this to my laptop as if it's my server. So if I go to, and just to make sure that there is no Docker image, actually there is none. And now if I just do Docker pull and just paste to the DockerHub knows the URL and all that kind of stuff. I'm not logged in or anything, so I can't paste, didn't copy it properly, so I'm just going to type it. Okay, it's downloaded and it's good. Now anyone else, not just us, anyone else can download directly from there and just run it. Brilliant. So as you can see, we have the latest because of if you don't specify the tag name, it just gives you the latest tag. And that's it. Actually, just in conclusion, what we have covered is, if I go back to the slides, we know what DockerHub is now. We know that you need to have an account. You know what the JIB Maven plugin is. I showed you how to push image to DockerHub using Maven command line, inline credentials, also using XML file, and then how to pull.
Thank you for watching and keep an eye on my next tutorial.